Ambulance people, what did they say to you before they left?
They didn't say anything. They were still trying to get her to regain consciousness as they like rolled her into the ambulance. They have this kind of inflatable stretcher thing they put her in. They rolled her off the couch into this thing, and then it inflated. Then they came in and they rolled her on out. And they shut the ambulance doors, and I can still hear the guy inside going, "Claire, Claire, do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me?" And I'm thinking, that doesn't sound very good. And off the ambulance goes, and it's like, my God. It doesn't sound very good. So there.
Okay. All right. You're on.
Go where? From where?
The next day. Or that night. When you came back, what did you and Carlos talk about?
Carlos and I talked about all kinds of things, and we had little 2 hours of bonding after how many years of not talking. So
how many?
We covered all these like life and death issues, and then at about 6 o'clock.
And it was all good.
Yeah, sure. And then about 6 o'clock, we both went to bed. Carlos wanted to stay up and play cards or games and things. He was so wired. He's just like, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do now? And I was doing dishes, and I just said, I'm going to bed after I do the dishes. I said, I just have to cleanse something in this house before I go to sleep. Something has to be cleaned up. When the medic guys came in, they shoved everything here aside. They set everything up here. Claire was just here, like all, piece of dead meat, basically.
She said she was out of consciousness?
Completely
That's when you got scared.
Sure, among other times. And so then the guys were like, oh, we got to roll her. She's like this, and they're like, we got to roll her over into this thing. So they put out this inflatable thing, and they rolled her into it. And when they did, like, there was all this shit just all over the back of the couch and everything. It was just disgusting. And all of a sudden, the waves, the odor, just like, oh. And I'm just standing in the back of the couch here. And it's all so bad that you just stop even thinking about how bad it is. You just like, it's just completely out. It's just out of control. So off they go with Claire, and the ambulance door is shut, and I can still hear the guy inside the ambulance saying, Claire, Claire, tu m'entends, Claire, hey, Claire, and like, I'm thinking, that doesn't sound very good. They're leaving, and he's still trying to get Claire to even be responsive. So they left, and then Carlos and I grabbed all the covers of this couch, and towels and things, and we took them all outside, and we soaked everything with water, and we washed a few things out at that point, and then just left everything just to soak. And that's when we came in, and then Carlos and I talked for a while. We smoked a little weed, and I just got him all calmed down. And then Carlos was still all wired and wanted to do other stuff, and that's why I said, I'm going to bed. And, so that was at 6 in the morning, and it was getting light, and I went to bed and slept for about 3 hours, but didn't really sleep. Because at that point I didn't really know. Claire had left here, and really there was no, it wasn't clear what condition she was in. And I had a hard time just going to sleep, not knowing what the end of the story was. So at about 9 o'clock, I got up, and I looked outside my window to see if Carlos's car was gone, thinking maybe he had woken up and headed off to the hospital already. That was the other thing. The medic guys had told us not to follow the ambulance because we'd both been drinking, and they said that there were cops on the road, and so that we shouldn't be driving. So that's why just the ambulance left, and they wouldn't let anybody in the ambulance with Claire. So at 9, I looked out the window. Carlos, his car was still there. So I came down, went up to the camper he was sleeping in, tried to wake him up, and he said he was awake, and I left it at that. Came back down here, made myself some breakfast and some coffee, and at 9:30 I went back up, and Carlos there was no sign of life out of Carlos, and I just felt like, all right, I want somebody to deal with this. So I thought, I'll go drive up to Peruche and get Maggie involved in this now. Let her know, because at this point she knew nothing about what had happened from the time that she and Ambrose had left. So I drove up there and I told them what had happened, and then I came back down here and just started cleaning the house until they showed up. It's running. So the thing that hit me was that from the time I got up at 9 o'clock, and then went up, tried to wake Carlos up, came down here and had breakfast, made myself breakfast and everything, and I knew Maggie and Ambrose knew nothing about this yet, and Carlos, for all I knew, was still asleep. So at that point, I'm the only person who knows the situation as I know it. And for all I know, I'm the only person right now that knows that Claire could be dead. And, and that's when I thought, I'm going to have breakfast and then go up and get Maggie.
In rooms with the sweet smell of success, I'm a mess. Look at what I've been reduced to. I don't blame you for saying no when you should have answered yes. But darling, 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 look at me now.